Hey y'all, Corey and Annie here from Grow Ensemble, and in this video we're going to be tasting what might be some of the best certified biodynamic wine from our friends at Brooks Wine, a certified B Corporation, 1% for the planet business member, and again, a certified biodynamic winery tucked into the Willamette Valley in Oregon. You ready?
Willamette.
Before we jump in here, both of the wines that we'll be tasting are coming from Brooks Estate Vineyard, which they've been farming since 2002. And as well, the grapes are coming from vines that were originally planted in 1974. So that's actually making them some of the very first plantings in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. And as Janie Brooks Hewick, the managing director of Brooks Wine, told Annie and I before we received these wines, older vines are like older people. They're more complex, they're wiser, they have rich stories to tell, and that might say something about what it is that we're about to taste here.
So we're going to be trying the 2017 Rostaban Pinot Noir from Brooks Estate and the 2018 Brooks Estate Riesling. And if you want to try these same wines at home, we should mention you totally can. We'll include a link in the description where you can find the Grow Ensemble bundle from Brooks. And a little bonus, if you use the code GE10, you can get 10% off your order.
Should we open them up?
Yay!
All right, so we should preface that while we are wine drinkers, we aren't wine experts. You're not a sommelier, I'm not a sommelier. So while we go through this tasting here, we're going to be leaning on some tasting notes that we've been given from the Brooks Wine folks, the winemakers, sommeliers, the family as well.
And these notes come with every bottle that you buy online. So when you go to buy a bottle of Brooks, the notes accompany your purchase.
Something we really do like about Brooks as well is this stress of education and accessibility to as many folks as possible to wine and wine drinking. We're all for that. Okay, so we're going to start here with the 2018 Brooks Estate Riesling. Just to introduce you to it a little bit before we go a little more in depth into the tasting notes. Brooks has given us here a very clear spectrum of a very dry wine to a very sweet wine. In this Riesling in particular, while you may think that's traditionally sweet, their Riesling is on the scale of very dry or quite dry.
I think I prefer that. Sweet wine scares me.
This Riesling is a hallmark vintage of Brooks. It's biodynamically farmed. It's really one of the wines that they do. It's kind of their thing.
It's the big deal.
Shall we have a taste?
Yeah. Okay.
Cheers.
Should you smell it first?
Smell it?
Okay. Smells like wine. White wine to me. It doesn't smell like sugar though, that's nice. Sorry. Ooh, it's not what I expected.
What are you picking up?
Can I have another sip?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, it's very light and crisp. So maybe like an apple. It's a bit tart, but it's not sugary. What is a fruit? They're all fruits, right? Or are they also like rocks? That's a thing, right? Or like tree bark or something.
It's all fruits involved.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna say apples. Pears? That's the only fruit I can think it's not like really sugary.
There's a lot of citrus involved. A few different citrus fruits.
Orange and lemon?
Lemon?
Apple. Okay, so not. I'm getting a hard
lemon.
no on the orange and the pear. Apple and lemon. Okay, what are the other two?
Grapefruit and
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Citrus blossom. So
That makes sense. It's very crisp, it's light, and it's very hot outside right now. So this is delightful.
that's why we started with the Riesling here in 100-degree Texas. But for some notes from the Brooks sommelier, this Riesling wine is described as an incredibly gorgeous and balanced Riesling with just enough residual sugar to mellow out the acid. So there's notes of guava paste and pomelo mingle with subtle hints of sea salt and calla lily.
Oh,
and
yes,
only
of course,
200
calla lily.
cases of this Riesling have been produced. As well, chefs with Brooks like to provide different pairings for their wines. If you're scanning through their website and their different product pages, the Riesling is said to pair lovely with s'mores and a hint of sea salt. And would you be able to pick that up? Would you?
Yeah.
All right, I think we'll finish these glasses just because we need something refreshing right now. And then we'll move on to the 2017 Rostebon Pinot Noir.
Okay, so we spent a little more time with the wine, and what we noticed was it is more like the first sips are, you feel like, ooh, a little crisp, but it is sweet, and so it does have a little bit of a sugary undertone that makes it very smooth, but it's not the kind of sugary that you'd expect for like a Prosecco or what I generally have thought of as a Riesling, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a stomach ache. Like, this feels like candy. It feels like the sugar makes it smooth and it's still very crisp and light.
We as well picked up on the back of the bottle a lot of really good information. For one, they even tell you the type of soil that the vines are planted and grown in. Nikia and Jory comprised of rocky, shallow, well-drained volcanic basalt from ancient lava flows. So that really, I think, adds to the experience of what you're drinking, thinking about how that connects back to ultimately where the wine or the grapes are grown. I think really connects you deeper with what it is that you're tasting.
Yeah, and that's also why they make Riesling, is what kind of soil exists on their vineyard. It's particularly conducive to like a very high quality Riesling. They also have a really easy to understand scale that tells you how, like, from the dry to sweet scale that Corey mentioned earlier, and it has a little arrow, so you know kind of where it falls on the dry to sweet scale for Rieslings. So it's just nice to have that information before you break open a bottle. You ready to dive into the Pinot?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, poured and ready to go.
So one thing I think is very cool that we didn't mention before about the tasting notes that Brooks provides with each bottle is that they tell you what the conditions were like when the grapes were growing on the vine and what they were like when the grapes were harvested. So that's a pretty cool little touch that they add. But the impression for the wine, just a little context before you get to guessing the tastes, is they describe it as a sexy, deeply layered with a perfume bouquet of fruits with an undertone of a word that I literally cannot pronounce. It has I don't want to give away any of the tasting. We'll jump in.
Let's not.
Let's give it a taste.
Cheers.
Mmm. So good. Wow. That's not what I expected. I know this isn't my time to shine, but that is not what I expected, and I very much like it.
That's really good.
Okay, so, Corey, my sweet, sweet love, what...
Cherry.
Okay, I'm very confident.
Is it on there?
No. Okay, not on there, but good effort, good color. Okay, so there's 4. Should we count that as one of your guesses? Okay, try to get the other 3.
Blackberry?
Yeah. Oh, look at you. Okay, 2 more. Also, something you should note is that when you go to buy the bottles on Brooks, they have these very cool looking graphics that go with the notes. Yes! You're on fire. Okay, there's 2 kind of different...
Unexpected?
I was going to say they're different illustrations. I'm going to give you a hint. One, you can go like a very soft way, you can go a very hard way.
Is one not a fruit? It's almost peppery.
Right color. Okay, so it's raspberry, blackberry, which you got, and then rose petal and graphite.
I wouldn't have gotten those.
You know, you wouldn't, but also I think those are my favorite graphics that they have. The sommelier says beautifully layered with a deep red and black fruit characteristics, rounded tannins, and a juicy finish, leaving you wanting more. I do agree. For the pairing, a pork tenderloin, delicata squash, and a raspberry pinot sauce. That would make a perfect pairing with this. So if you want to add that to your list of recipes. I don't do any of our cooking for the safety of our household.
Should we spend some more time with this one? So we spent a little bit more time with the Pinot here, and very quickly we thought of this as maybe one of the best Pinot Noirs that we've ever had. Maybe even one of the best reds that we've ever had. It's an extremely smooth, enjoyable wine to drink. We were working our way through the glass, referencing Brooks's notes. They mentioned, for one, rounded tannins, and while we may have not immediately connected with having any sense of what that meant, you got that right away, that yes, this is a smoothed out, very rounded wine for, whatever that means. But I think that was very descriptive of what it was, my experience of enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the nice things about Brooks, is that because they have these notes, generally when you see like a description of a wine, or at least for us, when we see a description of a wine online or something, it's like it has all these really like elaborate terms of art that we don't really know what they mean. I honestly don't know what tannins are, but it's so nice to have the notes while you're drinking it, because then you can have the opportunity for your experience to define what the hell is going on. So it's like, yeah, that is a very rounded flavor. That is a very floral scent. And so it also helps kind of define what the words are that professionals and sommeliers are using to describe the wine.
Okay, both wines tasted. Takeaways, Riesling, the Pinot.
My thoughts are, the Riesling is still a dessert wine, I think, if that's how you define a dessert wine, but it's still sweet, but it's way lighter than like a very sugary, make your teeth feel weird wine. And very light. Like I felt like when the sun was shining on us, so good. And the Pinot, I really think it was like, I can't wait to just fill up more on that. It was maybe the best. We're usually cab girls, I feel. Yeah, I think the Pinot was maybe the best red wine I've ever had. You?
Very similarly, I think I'd share same sentiment. Riesling, drier than what I would normally expect traditionally of a Riesling, and I like that quite a bit. Crisp on certainly the first taste that I had. Started to smooth out, maybe get a little bit sweeter as you continue to drink it. But the Pinot, I'm with you on that. I think we'll be pouring some more glasses of that after we finish the video.
I think also one of the most appealing things about Brooks is that it's a biodynamic vineyard. And so what we learned last year is that soil health and the way that agricultural companies take care of the land that they occupy can literally reverse climate change. By allowing the soil to be extremely healthy, it can take in and hold more carbon, which is the problem with climate change. There's too much carbon in the air. Yeah, it feels good to support a company and drink delicious wine that is grown with how the land naturally functions and just focuses on making the land as healthy as it could possibly be so that it can do what it does as well as it could do it.
I think that it's something that we don't always consider, while it is maybe obvious when you think through it, is thinking about exactly how the wine is made and produced. And we had the pleasure of partnering with the folks at Brooks on a campaign to talk about biodynamic farming and how it relates specifically to the winemaking process. Highly recommend checking out that series. Of course, we'll have dedicated links to that in the video description below. But it really changes, I think, your experience of both drinking the wine and appreciating really what it is that you're drinking and the work and the craft that the people behind it put into it all. And likewise, how they prioritize what varietals that they end up growing and producing. Riesling and Pinot Noir here are especially suited for that region, and they've really leaned in hard to making those as good as they can be.
Yeah, and it's good for the entire planet.
And I think when we're purchasing a bottle of wine at the grocery store or a wine shop nearby, we don't often think about the agricultural businesses that are behind it. And I think that's what's really important about supporting a vineyard, winery like Brooks, or just a business generally like Brooks, is that they are caring about so much more than just what you see in the end experience. They really do prioritize the planet along with, what it is that they're operating on a day-to-day basis with the business.
Yeah, and it's best for us because it makes a delicious bottle.
All right, y'all, if you liked this video, then please do us a favor and subscribe to our channel here at Grow Ensemble. I had to say this, but she didn't like me doing so. Anyways, if you've tasted Brooks wine before, or if there's maybe another biodynamic vineyard or winery that you'd like to point our attention to, please let us know with a comment below. Always trying to find out more things just like that. All right, y'all.